let's talk some more about gerrymandering. This is what we're going to be talking about for the next little while. And remember I said last time the state of Connecticut, by voter registrations among people who have declared political parties, is something like 65% Democrat, 35% Republican. When it comes to representatives in the Congress, we have, Connecticut has 5 representatives in the United States, the House of Representatives. But the split in terms of Republican versus Democrat for Connecticut is actually 5-0. 5 Democrat, 0 Republican, which seems a little out of whack with the actual population's opinions. If there are 35% Republicans in the state, can't they at least get 1 representative? Maybe 2? 2 might overrepresent them, I suppose. If you have to do it only out of 5. Throw them 1 at least. But no, they have 0. And why is that? It has to do with the precise way in which the districts are determined. The state is divided into 5 geographical districts, and each district elects their own representative. And let's look at this. Let's look at this handout. Now, there's 2 sides here. One is like the real districts, and one is a fictional version that I made up. I'm gonna put this in. So these are the real ones. I hope everybody can see all right. What you see there are all the towns in the state, and the white colored ones are majority Democrat, and the gray colored ones are majority Republican. You know, some are kind of even splits, but this is just going by the stats. More than 50%, less than 50%. And the lines dividing them are pretty strange looking, right? This line goes like this. They're all these crazy, very kind of wiggly lines that follow mostly along town borders, but not always. Some of them cut towns in half or cut little pieces off of towns. But anyway, that's how the map works. And why is it that the Republicans can't get a break in the state of Connecticut to get a representative? It's because the Republicans, which are the gray ones, are kind of dispersed throughout the state. They don't all live in the same district, which means when it goes district by district, the Democrats have a majority in all of the districts, all right? I thought it might be interesting to try and play around with the lines a little bit. I'm looking for my papers here. Yeah, what if we play around with the lines? So if you turn the paper over, you will see my fictional redrawing of the lines. I'm going to try and, I know it's kind of hard to tell since they're on 2 sides of that paper, but I'm going to see if I can line them up side by side here. What I did was, actually, I was trying to draw kind of more sensible type of lines here. You have this weird, in the true one, so this one over here, this is the real one. This is the fake one that I just made up. The to me, the most sort of strange feature of the real one is this little sort of hammerhead type thing over there. I hope you can see. I'm talking about this thing over here. This is in the real map, and is a very strange shape in my opinion. Why do they do that? Why is it like that? I thought, wouldn't it make more sense if I just kind of chop this off? So what I did to make this is the only place in which I changed the map from one to the other. What I did to make mine was I sort of cut off the hammer part and gave it to, I made sort of a central district here, which includes the hammerhead. And then I cut off this part and made that part of these guys over here. All right, that's what you see over there. I try to kind of like make them into more reasonable looking shapes. All right. But if you look at this one now and count up the majority Republican, majority Democrat, what I did by making the shapes more reasonable, actually, we now have in the middle here a district which is majority Republican. So if you move the lines, just the point of this little exercise where I I made up my own fake map. If you move the lines in the way that I just did, then the Republicans would win that middle district. They would win one, right? So, the moral of the story, maybe this is something that everybody knows, but it is worth saying out loud. In the United States, you can win elections not by convincing people to vote for you, but by just changing the way the lines are drawn on the maps, all right? That is just as effective and sometimes more effective than like actually engaging in politics, doing campaigns and doing things that people like so they vote for you, right? That's a sucker's game trying to just convince people to vote for you. It's a lot easier to just mess around with the maps, all right? And this is what people call gerrymandering, this kind of maybe it's cheating. I would say it's definitely undemocratic to try to get elected by screwing around with the map rather than trying to convince people to vote for you. That's what democracy is supposed to be about, in my own opinion. It's definitely undemocratic in my opinion, but it's not exactly against the rules. And also, it is a necessary part of our system because, remember what I said, the reason Connecticut has 5 representatives is because of our population. If the state of Connecticut becomes more or less populated, you have to redraw the lines. If our state were to get bigger and change from 5 to 6, it is necessary to change all the lines around, all right? So it's not like you could just make the lines once and leave them that way forever. That's not allowed. You have to change the lines every so often. And whoever's in charge of that is gonna try and monkey with the system. All right, it's just part of the system that we use. There's a big term for this in political scientists called a proportional representation, which is a general concept that democracies kind of aim for. So the idea, I'm gonna make this a little definition here. A political system has proportional representation what that means is that a system has proportional representation when it means something like if X% of the people support some political party. I'm discussing it in terms of parties. You can say this without mentioning parties, but if X% of the people support some party, then that party is elected approximately X% of the time. Right? And I think most people would agree this is kind of what we're aiming for. This is how it should be. If about 35% of your population, say, supports the Republicans, then they should be represented about 35% of the time. Now, by the numbers, it's not always possible to match that statistics exactly, but it should be approximate, all right? And it is a fact that the USA, our system, does not achieve proportional representation. It sounds like a good idea, but actually there's nothing about our system that guarantees proportional representation. For example, in Connecticut, there are a lot of Republicans in the state of Connecticut, but they get 0 representatives because we do not have a proportional representation system. And this is the fault of the system. You may be tempted as an American, maybe you're used to this and you just sort of shrug your shoulders. What else are you going to do, right? If your system is based on dividing voters geographically, then what else are you going to do? There are many systems in the world which do have proportional representation. They just don't do districts geographically. That's the easy answer. Don't use geographically drawn districts. Have the whole state vote for 5 people, or there are many ways to get around this. It's just the American system is not any of those ways. We are stuck with the system. We're not really stuck. We just have the system that we have, and people don't want to change it for whatever reason. All right, anyway, the lines matter. You can win elections just by moving the lines around, all right? Okay, I want to show you some real-world examples here. I don't have handouts for all of these, but I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures. I hope that you can see them all right. So these are historical and modern examples. I mentioned that the concept of gerrymandering is a big deal these days in politics. A reason for this is that the United States does a census every 10 years, and based on the results of the census, the populations of the states are measured, and that is when, so like after every census happens, they officially recalculate the populations of all the states, and they officially recalculate how many electoral college votes each state gets, which is tied to how many representatives each state gets in the House. So anyway, the fact that there was recently a census means right now all of the states are in the process of redrawing all the lines. And so there's a fair amount of like current news reports about new lines being drawn. It has to happen every time we do a census. Anyway, I thought here's my first example to show you. This is the original gerrymander, the OG, if you will. This was in the state of Massachusetts. This was a long time ago. This is Massachusetts in 18-something or other. 1812. There was a politician named Gerry, or I think actually it was pronounced Gary. And this guy made this district up here, which everybody at the time saw that and thought that is a ridiculous shape. Although we're going to see, in the next 10 minutes, you will see far more ridiculous shapes than that. But apparently back in these days, this was not a common phenomenon. Gary produced this shape, which enabled him to win, easier than using the old shapes. And this was, people thought it looked like a salamander, and so they called it the Gerrymander, which is why we still have that word. But anyway, this was the original one. Kind of weird shape, but like I said, you're going to see some far stranger shapes in a moment. Let's look at the state of Maryland. Has what is generally regarded as some of the most egregious gerrymanders. What you will see are shapes of districts which make no sense at all as shapes. They are crazy. Check it out. These are the districts in the state of Maryland as they exist right now. Now, I said these are actually in the process of being changed. I'm going to show you the new ones also. But look at them lines. It's hard to even say which is which here. But anyway, in the state of Maryland, this is actually the old map. By old, I mean it is still in effect right now, but it's about to change in the next couple months, I believe. Before the next elections in November of this year, this map will change likely. This is the old map. It has 8 districts. And the current sort of way that they are represented right now is 7 Democrats and 1 Republican. And the Democrats are in charge of all of this, and this map was drawn by Democrat bros trying to game the system by drawing these crazy lines. This is how all of these lines were drawn. This is regarded as one of the worst Democratic maps. The Republicans actually have, I think it's fair to say the Republicans have used gerrymandering more than the Democrats, at least in recent history, but the Democrats do it too. Anyway, this is Maryland as it is now, but it's about to change. I'll show you the new one. So the system that it is now has 7 sort of solid Democrat regions, and then this one, which is a solid Republican region. But those Maryland Democrats are not satisfied, and they've actually are about to change the map, which is even better for them. So check it out. Here is the new one. Now all right, so you still have these ridiculous regions in the middle here, but what they've done is this. You'll notice the colors are a little lighter. So this region here used to be solid Republican, but they chipped away a bit at it. So now this is less solid Republican. It's still majority Republican, but by a little bit less. And then they made this new little region here, which is slight Republican majority again. So what they're doing is they have broken this solid red, this sort of deep Republican thing. They broke it up, and they turned it into basically two slight Republican things. And then they're going to campaign and see if they can win them all right? In this existing map as it is now, I guess I'm not an expert in Maryland politics, but what I read, what I gather, the Democrats have no hope of winning this region. And so what they did is, this is, I suppose, a bit of a gamble, but they break this region up. They created two regions which are technically majority Republican, but they're going to try to win them both. So they are, so this is the new one. And I will just say the D's are, they're going for 8 and 0, right? Which was not possible in the old map. They changed the map here. It seems like the worst that can happen is they might lose one and make it 6-2. But at least they have a chance of making it 8-0 here. This is the idea. All right. Still very crazy shapes to the lines. Here's another one. This is a portion of the state of Texas. What I've got here is the region near Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. You will see those cities are blue, that's Democrat, and these much larger districts out here, they're much larger geographically because hardly anybody lives there, and those are all Republican. Why is it that people in the cities vote Democrat and people in the country vote Republican? There's a lot of reasons. I mean, one reason is that the white folks live in the country. Like our politics in America is intrinsically tied to race and also income levels, and these things are, I mean, it's not that living in the city causes you to not be white, but these things are correlated by who lives in cities and who doesn't, right? So the fact that the cities are blue and the country is red, that has a lot to do with all kinds of things that are like deeply embedded in our society. But anyway, I wanted to point out, for instance, around Austin, so the city of Austin is like this, right? There are many Democrats who live in Austin. The strategy that the Republicans did when they created this map is to break up the city of Austin into, I believe there are 5 districts that meet right here. And the basic idea, I mean, they have these crazy curvy lines, but basically they did this to Austin so that all of the people in here are basically Democrats, and they split them up. They said, okay, you Democrats over here, you guys get to be part of this district with like 1 million farmers over here. And then you guys over here, you're part of this giant district over here. So this is a typical tactic in gerrymandering called cracking, where you have a certain group of people, you want to dilute their vote by forcing these people here to join in this region way over here. And the effect of that is they are not going to be able to outweigh all of these people over here. All right. They weren't able to totally crack it up, so what remains is this one blue district. But check it out. They stretched this one all the way over to San Antonio to get some of those people also. All right. So the same strategy was used over here in San Antonio. This is these are actually 2 different districts. You can't really tell on the picture here, but this is typical gerrymander tactics. If your opponents all live in the same place, you don't make, like, they could have made like 3 or 4 blue districts right here and then a bunch of red ones out here. But instead, they split it up so that those blue people, they get lost in the sea of red out here. That's the strategy. All right. I had one more. Yeah, so the city of Houston actually looks quite a bit more fair from this point of view. All right. Here, the makeup of Houston is similar to those other cities. But they actually did give those blue people who live in Houston more or less their own districts. So I would say this one makes more sense, or I mean, it is more fair in the sense that those people, they are actually allowed to express their opinions and be represented rather than being broken into little pieces and assimilated into the other large districts. But there's an interesting thing to point out about this part. So the region of Houston, I have a special picture of that. This, whoa. If you're interested, I'm going to put all these pictures on our class website. This strange region up here, this sort of weird, there's a snaky bit that goes like that. All right, that I just scribbled on is district number 2, which is currently the district represented by Dan Crenshaw. You know that guy? It's the guy with the eye patch. He was injured in Iraq, I think, or Afghanistan. Anyway, this is his district. I would like to point something out, just to emphasize the fact that there are deep issues involved in drawing these districts. Check it out. Here is a picture of that same district overlaid on another map of Houston. That's that crazy snaky thing. And this map is color-coded by ethnicity. On this map, the blue regions are white people. The yellow is, there's a legend down here. The yellow is Hispanic. The green is black people. The red are Asian. Check it out. This line, I mean, this is not a coincidence. This line goes right along where the white folks live. And it cuts out where, I mean, this is mostly black and Latino folks live, all right? I just present this as something to think about, all right? Now, I'm not saying the people who drew this line were intentionally trying to racially segregate the districts. I don't actually believe that. I mean, it might be true, but more likely they would say, hey, we're just trying to win the election, right? I'm just drawing the lines, and I believe it. They're just drawing the lines in a way that makes them win. That's the whole point of all of these games that they're playing. I think this kind of thing, though, is related. I mean, you cannot be separated from issues about race in America and also issues about income inequality. You know, this map is drawn according to race, but you could draw a similar map according to income levels or whatever, and it would look similar. This region over here is predominantly wealthier, and this region in here is poorer. All right. So is this really about race, or is it about economics, or is it just about politics? I'm just trying to win by putting all the Democrats together and the Republicans together. I think from the point of view of people who are interested, this is actually, I think, a good example of what people call systemic racism. The fact that race is, like, this is related to race, not in the sense of like there are people with like evil racism in their hearts, right? That's not necessarily what this is about. But if the outcome is to produce racially segregated districts, then that's a problem, whether you feel it in your heart or not. This is what, I'm not an expert on race in America, but this is what, when people talk about systemic racism, they mean racism which is baked into the system, and you can participate in systemic racism without being a racist deep down inside, in your heart, right? I think, you know, I've heard several people who do know about race relations, like, what you feel in your heart is not really important. It's like what you do. If you have good intentions in your heart, but you are creating a system in which, say, black people are not allowed to vote, then that's a problem, regardless of what's in your heart. So anyway, I am just trying to present, I'm not trying to make you feel any particular way other than to realize these are very complicated, and there are actually like real moral components to this thing, all right? Any thoughts about that? I don't mean to be up here like spouting my own opinions without letting anybody else spout their own opinions, but I'm happy to hear any opinions. I don't know if you were prepared with opinions to talk about this today, but it's a big deal, and you know, we're going to talk mostly just sort of like abstract mathematically about this. And you can kind of lose track of the fact that these are like issues of true importance in our society, not just about winning elections one year after another, but like really about the long-term trend of justice in America, right? Anyway, that's all I had for these little examples. Oh no, I got one more. Check it out. Sorry, I forgot about this one. This is one of my favorites. If you don't like all this race talk, you're not gonna like this one either. All right, this is the area around Chicago, and this map also is still current, but is about to change. Now, around Chicago, which is, I believe Chicago is majority city. That is, most of the population of Chicago is not white. Is that true? I think that's true. Anyway, this is the area of Chicago. These districts are all blue. That means these are all Democratic districts around here, okay? This is a gerrymander which was not done in order to give the Democrats more districts, because the Democrats are going to win all of these sort of no matter what they do. But I am looking specifically at this crazy shape here. This ridiculous shape actually is connected right there along a road. There are not even any people who live along this little stretch of it right there, which connects these two blobs together. It looks, if I were to smooth out the lines, it looks sort of like this, right? And this is a road. There's not even people who live on that little strip of land that connects these two districts. In most states, there are laws that say the districts have to actually be connected by land. You can't just have islands of the same district. So they do need to be connected. Anyway, this interesting thing about this district. So this is Illinois District number 4. You can look this up if you're interested. Why is it shaped like that? This district was not drawn by some politician trying to monkey with the system. This district was actually mandated by a judge, because what it is these two regions here and here are two different neighborhoods in Chicago, which is where most of the Latino people in Chicago, they live in those two regions, all right? And those two regions were, before the judge made this decision, those two regions were usually separated into two different districts. So these two parts, I would say for obvious reasons, because they're not really next to each other, they're separated, right? The two parts were always in different districts. But there was some political action done by the Latino community in Chicago, because their two neighborhoods always being in different districts meant that their votes always got diluted. Their votes had to be assimilated into the other districts that they were in. And for this reason, for instance, there's a sizable Latino population in Chicago, but they had never elected a Latino representative, because all the Latino population basically lives in these two places, and they are not next to each other. They're separated, and so they always ended up in two different districts, in which case they could never elect the person that they wanted to. Anyway, there was a big lawsuit, and the court decided that this was an unconstitutional violation of the Voting Rights Act. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Like I said, I am not an expert in all of this history, but I'm just trying to give some context here. The Voting Rights Act of 1965, it says this outlaws racially motivated, or not motivated, I will say racially based vote denial is illegal based on race. You can't deny someone their right to vote. Or, and this is the important part, vote dilution. You can't pass laws or create systems which dilute people's votes based on their race. And the Latino community of Chicago sued somebody or other, in whoever was responsible for drawing the lines, and they said, you drawing these lines in this way dilutes our votes, and it's racially correlated. You're destroying the ability of the Latino community to elect the representatives that we want. And the court agreed, and so the court ordered that these two districts be connected together and make their own district. And immediately thereafter, the state of Illinois elected its first Latino congressman. So, I mean, it worked what the court was trying to enable. But this is an example of, like, the whole race angle is not at all simple. When I show you Dan Crenshaw's district with lines that go along by race, I kind of feel like that's sort of wrong. But here's one where the lines are intentionally, very specifically drawn to have a racial impact, and these are complicated things. One of those, Crenshaw's a Republican. This is a Democrat district, so it's not really a party thing. It's complicated. That's all I got to say about it. Anybody have any thoughts? We could put all the tables in a circle and talk about our feelings. I don't think we need to do that. It's interesting, I'm not a race scholar. I think it's very fascinating though, and I hope you won't mind me saying, as a white gentleman, I feel like it's important for me to be aware of sort of what America is like for non-white and perhaps non-gentlemen. That's like part of me being a good citizen and being a good whatever person just when I interact with other people. I want to know about this kind of stuff. All right, let's get down to some business then. We got about 15 minutes left. So, two big topics that we're going to discuss. As far as, all of this was about sort of history a little bit, but I want to talk mostly about like the mathematics of gerrymandering. And the two big questions that I want to look at are, first of all, how to rig elections by gerrymandering. This is like if you want to understand your evil enemy, you must become the enemy or something like that. In order to understand how to look at gerrymandering, I want us to learn sort of how some of the methods, the techniques that they use to actually draw these crazy districts to swing the elections. And then also how to detect unfair gerrymandering. This is a big issue these days because the way this always goes in practice is somebody draws a bunch of lines, then the other side says, "No, those are unfair. They violate my rights or whatever. You're just trying to carve out the black people or something." There's always an argument about like, you can't draw the lines that way. That's not fair. And then the other guy's like, no, it's perfectly fair. I'm just, we're just drawing the lines, whatever. How do you actually tell if some funny business is happening or if there was just like, the lines are perfectly fine that way, all right? That's the second big topic that we're going to talk about. But first, let's talk about how to rig elections by gerrymandering. I got another handout. Can you believe it? I wasn't sure we'd get this far, but we're getting it. So I want us to practice sort of drawing lines to swing the results of elections. And just to simplify things, I have a very, very simplified geographical example here, which is just a bunch of rectangles. So these rectangles, I want to imagine, extras. Imagine that this is like a state or something, and those rectangles are like individual people where they live, all right? I have one of these here. I got one. All right, so I gave you a whole bunch of these just so that you can, what I'm going to do is draw lines to divide this into a bunch of regions. And I gave you a whole lot of them so that you could do it several times if you mess it up or whatever. So what we have here are 50 little squares. Think of those as people who live in their houses, you know, and I want to divide this into, let's make 5 districts, all right? Now, I'll tell you, there are 20 total dark and 30 total light, all right? I'm going to call them the D's and the L's. Think of these as like your 2 political parties or something. And I'm going to divide them into 5 districts, and let's see what the outcome would be if they all vote in the 5 districts. So I'm going to divide it in a very specific way. See if you can copy down what I'm doing here. Let's take the top 10 like this. This is district number 1. I'm going to have you guys try and divide this up in different ways. That's why I gave you so many, but we can all do it the same way first. Let's take the next group of 10 here. That's district 2. Now for district 3, I'm going to go like this. I hope you can see all right. That's district 3. District 4 is this. And then 5 is all the rest over here. All right? So I've made 5 different districts by dividing up the dots in a certain way. All right? We're always going to try to keep our districts connected with one another, like contiguous regions, you know, no gaps in them. Okay? Anyway, using these districts, let's imagine like they all vote. And each of the 5 districts is going to be won either by the D's or the L, depending on how many people are in there. So using districts, using these districts, what do I got? For number 1, I'm just going to count up the boxes in there. I have 6 lights and 4 darks, right? So this is 4, what did I say? 4 dark. Come on, 6 light. So light wins district 1, right? Because there are 6 light ones and 4 dark ones in there. District 2, the same thing. They have the same makeup, right? District 2 is also 4 darks, 6 lights, and the lights win. District 3, number 3 is 2 darks, 8 lights, and so the lights win there. Number 4 is all lights. This is 0 darks, 10 lights, and so the light wins. And then number 5 has all darks, right? Number 5, 10 darks, 0 lights. So the D's win. And so the total result here is the lights win 4 times and the D's win 1 time, all right? So if you think of these as representatives, the lights are getting 4. The L wins 4 districts. The D wins 1. All right? I would like you to try. I'll give you a few minutes. See if you can achieve a different result by dividing into different regions. See if you can draw the boundary lines in a different way. You know, these ways that I did it, I got 4 L's and 1 D. Can you draw the lines in some other way to get a different outcome? And specifically, I mean, see what different kinds of outcomes could you possibly get. So can we get results of, you know, is it possible to get 5L, 0D? Is it possible to get 4L, 1D? Actually, that one I just did, right? That's what I did. In my version, I got 4 light districts and 1 dark. But what about, you know, there's other, could you get 3 L's and 2 D's? Could you get 2 L's and 3 D's? I'm writing all the different possible outcomes. Which of these are actually possible? That's what I want to know. 1 L, 4 D, 0 L, 5 D. See what you think. I'll give you a moment and then I'll come around and see. Yeah, make some up. See if you can really do, how many. I mean, we'll look at that. So.
Quick question. Does each district have to have 10 squares?
Oh yeah, I should have said that. You need each district to have 10 squares in them. All the district, this is how it works in the real world. All the districts are supposed to have at least approximately the same population. So every district should have 10 squares in it. I should have mentioned that. How's it going? Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. Good. All right. How's it going? Well, there's going to be 5 total districts, right? Because there's 50 here, so yeah. So inside each one, I mean, here, when you count up all, like, the total overall percentages, that's so. All right, I see a lot of good districts. Let's talk about, I want to see how many different results we could possibly get. I saw several people ended up doing this, drawing lines to get 5 lights and no darks, which would be, in my opinion, totally unfair. I mean, in this example, there are 20 darks and 30 lights. To make all of the districts light is quite a trick, I guess. Can anybody describe how you did that? There's actually a cute and simple way to make that happen, to make the lights win every time. What do you think?
Every 2 rows.
Yeah, if I just take like horizontal rows like this, 10 in each district this time, right? And you'll see every single district has a majority light here. So in this case, I get 5 lights win, 0 darks, all right? Because every region that I drew there is majority whites, all right? Okay, so as far as my question here, can we get these results? Actually, this one is possible. That's what I just did. And then this one I did before. 3 lights and 2 darks. Can we do that? Actually, there is a similar, I would say this was sort of a cute, simple solution. There's a similar cute way of dividing it up so that you get 3 lights and 2 darks. Did anybody come up with a cutesy way to do that? Yeah?
You just divide the dark squares into 2 districts, and
Okay. Yeah, if we divide there are 20 dark squares, if we just make them all in their own two districts evenly. Actually, there's an especially cute way of doing that, which I didn't see as I was walking around, but check it out. If you draw them this way, then I think it's pretty clear. I have 2 which are all dark and 3 which are all light. So when you count up the results here, you're going to get 3 lights and 2 darks, right? That's another way that you could divide it. As I was walking around, people made all kinds of more interesting snaky kind of shapes, but in this case, you might as well start with the simple shapes. What about, is it possible to do 4 lights and, no, I already did that. I mean 2 and 3. 2 lights, 3 dark. Is that possible? Was anyone able to do this? Yeah? What do you think? Can you describe, or does it just look crazy?
Yeah, it looks crazy. But you can't do it. You just do 6, 6, and 6.
6, 6, and 6.
For the dark ones, and then the rest of them are light.
Yeah, let's say I will put 6 darks here. I'm going to try and do this maybe like that.
That's what I do.
And then 6 darks here, maybe give them that one too. And then 6 darks here, give them an extra 1. All right, those are 3 regions where the dark has 6. And then I'll just divide the rest up. The whites are going to win all the rest, but I'll take the bottom row is 5. I have to put 10 in each region, something like that. All right. This one has 3 districts where the darks win and 2 where the lights win. All right. And in our remaining 1 minute, can we do 1 light, 4 dark? Did anybody think about that? Actually, this one is impossible. Can anybody say why is that impossible? Yeah.
It's because you would need more than 5 dark per district in order for dark to win. And
Yeah, right.
dark.
You need 6, squares to win each district. And you can't win, the darks can't win 4 because that would require 6, at least 6 each. In 4 districts would be 24. 6 times 4 is 24. But there's only 20 darks on the picture, so they can't win 4 districts. All right, I hope you all have a great week. I'll see you Wednesday. Do the homework. Bye.
Actually, I'm not even